Let's take a look at some information and charts on Dogecoin for Brave New Coin. So these are the top cryptos by market cap, and Doge still firmly sits in the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th. Taking out Tether, it's 6th. And there's not really too much below that. BCH is worthless. LTC is at 14. Uni's essentially at 14. And we get a little bit more DeFi stuff below that. So the question is, the sanity test, right? Does Doge deserve the valuation it currently holds? Do meme stocks deserve the valuation they currently hold? It's still a bit bizarre, I think, to everybody that it sits where it sits in regards to market cap. So keep that in mind, because this stuff can evaporate, right? Last video I did, it was 35 cents. It went up to 70 something. It's back down to 40 something. Just keep that in mind. If you're one of these few people watching the video who are up tens of multiples, okay, take some perspective. Save yourself from yourself. Not investment advice, but I would take some profit, okay? Just saying. Because when the rug gets pulled out under you, there will be no mercy. So let's keep going. Let's think about this in another fashion. Let's look at some other companies in the real world that have a 53 billion market cap. Kraft Heinz, Honda, Hyundai. Doge is worth more than the London Stock Exchange. Probably, that's fair. Foxconn, they're the people that make stuff for the iPhone using Chinese slavery. Volvo, ING, Ferrari at 51 billion. Keurig, Dr. Pepper, I didn't even know they were merged. 51 billion. Dow, 51 billion. Maersk, 51 billion. Ford, 50 billion. Okay, so Monster Beverage, 49. Dollar General, 48. So is Doge worth more than these companies? I don't know. That's I guess for you to decide. I don't hold any Doge currently, so just keep that in mind. But it's a good sanity test to check every once in a while, whether it be an ICO or crypto in general. Just do that check. Is the market cap, doesn't make sense. And arguably for me, no, it doesn't make sense. It's a bit weird. Look at the hash rate and difficulty. Doge is a proof of work coin. I believe it has a targeted block time around a minute, but if you look at the block times, they're slightly above a minute. Maybe it's a minute in 4 milliseconds or something. But hash rate and difficulty is merge mined with LTC, and it was done so to preserve the security of Dogecoin. So without Charlie Lee's suggestion, the LTC creator, Dogecoin wouldn't exist today, likely because it would have gone by the wayside. It would have been unsecure years ago and 51% attacked and delisted. And that's really the ultimate death knell for a coin, is being delisted. Because if you're delisted, nobody can buy you, nobody cares about you. The worst thing for any coin is to be delisted. Use cases don't matter. It's being delisted that matters. As is with being listed. If Dogecoin is listed on Coinbase, maybe it'll explode and then that'll be the end of it. But being listed or delisted is highly important. So hash rate difficulty continues to increase. This was the LTC halving. So hash rate went way up and then dropped after the halving. And now it's slowly recovering as the Doge fees are exploding and block reward is exploding. I'll show that in a second. If we look at just inflation, kind of why is Doge even in this conversation? It's almost right place, right time, because Doge has less inflation than ETH, even though it has infinite supply forever, and its supply is several multiples of ETH. It's got similar inflation to LTC even. Now it has more inflation than Monero and BTC, but still less than Zcash. Why didn't Zcash explode? Well, it kind of wasn't listed very many places, right? You couldn't buy it on Robinhood. Why is Grin not a thing? Well, it's not really listed in many places. Its inflation is 40%. The argument for whether a coin can do something has a lot to do with its inflation and if it's listed. Those are really the two big things. So BTC, low inflation, listed everywhere. There's not a lot of supply overhang. So when stuff like BTC or Monero gets going, there just isn't that much for sale. You could argue the same for Dash, ETH, Doge, LTC. All those moved. I didn't look at DGB and VTC Vertcoin. Is that what that is? But those are listed in fewer places. So those are going to be harder to buy. It's just really that simple. If we look at transaction counts for Doge, they're still I believe, near all-time highs since the initial distribution in 2014. Effectively multi-year highs in April there, and it's cooling down a little bit. Again, when this price cools down, it is going to destroy people. It will destroy people. I guarantee you that. I don't want to be a doomer. I don't want to be the guy that's like, you should really take profit. You're up 1,000,000,000%. Save yourself from yourself, people. These transaction counts probably are not real. There's a lot of bot activity here. There's a lot of Elon tweet influences here. The list goes on. Average transaction value is way up. And there's a lot of Robinhood Doge floating out there as well. That probably plays a role in this. I don't know how much on-chain movements the Robinhood Doge wallet has or how it influences the on-chain movements, but that's something else to consider. And if we look at the fee totals between LTC and Doge, so when you mine LTC, you're mining Doge, and when you mine Doge, you mine LTC at the same time. And Doge currently accounts for 90% of the total fees. That's just transaction fees, and it accounts for 75% of the block reward. So at this point, the LTC people are just happy to have Doge on board because it only helps their security. It's definitely a mutually beneficial sort of thing where each helps secure the other, but in this case, because of the incentives, Doge is definitely the reason why hash rate has exploded, at least based on my read for those script coins. If we look at NVT is kind of all over the place, but it has been declining since January. NVT is a measure of price versus on-chain activity, and a falling NVT is bullish, and it continues to fall. So it's not screaming bearish here. It actually looks okay. And active addresses at all-time highs effectively, so it's hard to be, this was, again, the initial distribution, but it's at a multi-year high, active addresses. So it's hard to be like super bearish here, but the reality check will set in soon enough. Trust me on that, okay? It always happens with Doge. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. But collectively, NVT and active addresses in a vacuum still look fine. MVRV, another measure of market cap versus realized cap. Realized cap is how much is moving on chain. And if we look at MVRV historically, these highs in MVRV in the fill here have corresponded with highs in price. MVRV is currently exceeding both previous highs in price and nearing an all-time high, even with that initial distribution taken into account. So it is getting dangerous up here. This says that price is 3 multiples above what's actually moving on chain. Market cap is 3 multiples above what's actually moving on chain, which historically has been the tolerance for topside in price. Probably one of the more bearish things is the Dogecoin Google Trends, which are projecting a 50% drop over the past week worldwide. Now, this may change based on what you're looking at slightly, Doge versus Dogecoin, but they all should be pointing down. So to me, that's a leading indicator that retail is getting a little soft on the doggy stonk. And if we move to technicals, I don't even know what to say, right? If we go on the weekly, you can't really analyze this on the weekly. It's just in Pluto, right? It's in some undiscovered planet in the Kuiper belt. I don't know. It's so far out of reality. It's comical. The RSI on the weekly is definitely a bearish divergence. If this breaks 35, it'll break down below whatever support this is on the weekly, the Kijun, and it'll be in this deep abyss of who knows what, kind of like here, where it just kind of floats around, and it's bullish because it's above the cloud on the weekly, but it's not, like, there's no signals to take there. So that's a tough trade on any chart. Realistically, I could see it falling back to the previous all-time high, which is around like a penny, Like, it could get that brutal for Doge. But if you really are trading this, I'd watch it on something like the hourly or the 4-hour. And again, the cloud's telling you, be careful here. It's below the cloud. When it gets above the cloud, if it does get above the cloud again, that's your go long signal. Until then, all this is telling you to stay out, right? Go long, close, go long, close. You're waiting for that go long signal. Maybe you're watching a 4-hour bull div here, but I'm not really seeing anything that looks promising. And then here's the daily 5200. The 200-day moving average is at 16, it looks like. And it retraced like 75% from the top on that drop over the past couple days. So I'd be watching 16, I guess, as support based on the 200-day moving average. I'd be watching this previous consolidation zone around 5 cents as the support below that, and then a penny. Those are the supports I would watch. Again, you can see that bearish divergence here on the higher high in price and the lower high in RSI. Doge BTC on the 4-hour has been a mess. I don't think it's tradable on trend metrics at this point. It's just all over the place. I wouldn't trust anything this is telling me because the signals haven't been valuable on the 4-hour, right? Ever since mid-May, it's just been super bipolar all over the place. So there's not really a trade for me in a vacuum there. And on the weekly, it's at 1,000 sats. The multi-year high was 100 sats. Some people still think it's going to $1. Some people think it's going to $7. Whatever. Godspeed. I wish you luck. I hope it flippens the entire market cap of everything and it just eats everything in existence, okay? But I don't think that's going to be reality. Doge will be here forever. It's not going anywhere, but its valuation is a bit silly. So again, I could see this. It's called the, not the Burj Khalifa, the tower, but Eiffel Tower. That's what it is. There's this pattern, Eiffel Tower. You can Google it. It's a thing where something will go straight up and then it'll go straight down. So that would be 100 sats. That's where I would be looking if I was seriously trading this. I wouldn't be touching it until then. That is the support at 100 sats. So be careful. Be careful. Here's Doge ETH, which I don't see anybody looking at for any reason ever, but it's also way high up there and probably signaling a top against ETH. So can all this stuff get flippened by Doge? Sure. Maybe that's not a world I want to live in at that point because it'll just be, it'll be too nuts. I don't know. None of it makes sense. What are you going to do? One interesting thing is if we actually get something like a universal basic income, if we'll actually flip reality if Doge goes higher. Not that UBI is coming anytime soon, but part of the reason for all of this mayhem with GME and AMC is certainly the stimulus, and Doge is in that conversation. So, if we get another stimulus, sure, Doge to $1, whatever. But I don't really blame people for putting their money there, but I think those are hollow gains and will not hold well over time. Let me just finally mention the Enzyme Finance non-custodial portfolio management for Techemy Capital. I trade ETH-BTC as well as some managed DeFi stuff. How this works is you can deposit ETH or USDC, and through a smart contract, I have the ability to use those funds in trades. You can see AUM, allocation, all the trades I make done through DEXs. I have the ability to use some yield stuff through Comp or Aave, and the DeFi portfolio has 15 to 20 coins in it, kind of based on our evaluations and metrics, a mixture of TA and FA. Definitely took a wallop over the past week, but had been doing decently well since April when we started it. And overall, this one's much more volatile and will be much more volatile than the ETH and BTC fund. So keep that in mind. Some of the stuff was down 42% in a day, despite being at an all-time high the day before. I mean, it's complete volatility. So if you like to embrace that sort of thing, keep that in mind. But you have the ability to get in and out whenever you want. We see someone yesterday, you're not like trapped in here for any amount of time. You can get in, you can get out. There are fees associated with both of these, mainly to pay for transaction costs, honestly, because it's not cheap on ETH. So that's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.